Jeremy Clarkson took a barbed swipe at Prince Harry and Meghan Markle when he said they were less interesting than somebody he claims he's never heard of, Joe Rogan. The Clarkson's farm star spoke amid rock star Neil Young's recent row with Spotify in his weekly column for The Sun. In his column, he blasted Harry and Meghan's lucrative $18 million Spotify deal when comparing their earnings to US podcast titan Joe Rogan. Jeremy wrote, "I learned this week that a man called Joe Rogan, who I've never heard of, has trousered $100 million after selling tape recordings of himself talking to people." The Top Gear star proceeded to compare the UFC commentator's earnings to that of Harry and Meghan's own Spotify deal. He said that Harry and Meghan, who like to think of themselves as the biggest stars in the world, are selling tape recordings of themselves talking for just $18 million. Which means they are actually 5.55 times less interesting than someone I've never heard of. It comes as Spotify removed Neil Young's music from their streaming site, after the Canadian singer urged they take his music down if they continued to host Joe Rogan's podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. Comedian Joe's podcast is reportedly downloaded 200 million times a month, and apparently signed the sports broadcaster for £75 million. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee slammed Spotify for allowing fake information about vaccines to spread on their site. He said, "Spotify is spreading fake information about vaccines, potentially causing death to those who believe the disinformation being spread by them." On Wednesday, Spotify agreed to remove Young's hits from their platform, and said they hoped the singer would return to Spotify soon. They said, "We have detailed content policies in place and we've removed over 20,000 podcast episodes related to COVID since the start of the pandemic." Joe has previously said he is not an anti-vax person in the past, saying that the vaccines are safe and encouraging people to take them. The Duke and Duchess' first and only podcast episode, a holiday special, was released in December 2020. Jeremy previously slammed the royal couple's Netflix deal, saying it would produce drivel. He wrote, "They will be drivel. £100 million to make shows and films that inform and give hope? Kill me." According to the New York Times, the couple's lucrative Netflix deal is estimated to have been worth around $100 million. The agreement is believed to include documentaries, children's programs and films. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have issued a statement addressing the ongoing row about COVID misinformation on Spotify. In the past week, several musicians including Neil Young and Joni Mitchell have called for their music to be removed from the streaming service. Neil Young specifically took issue with the platform for hosting the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, which has been accused of spreading false information about coronavirus and the COVID vaccine. On Sunday morning, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, who signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Spotify in 2020, spoke out about the matter in a joint statement. "Since the inception of Archie, we have worked to address the real-time global misinformation crisis," they said. Hundreds of millions of people are affected by the serious harms of rampant mis and disinformation every day. The royal couple signed their exclusive deal with Spotify, rumored to be worth around £18 million, in December 2020. In that time, they've released just one episode of their podcast, a 34-minute Christmas special featuring appearances from Sir Elton John, James Corden, George the Poet, and Naomi Osaka, as well as their then one-year-old son Archie.